Hey, this is Max. Welcome back to another CSR2 video. I'm here with the live racing review of the F brand cars. This video comes 3 years after I got to D, which is Dodge, and stopped. The reason being, back then there were no good F brand cars for live racing. In fact, I reviewed a bunch of cars, tested them, and just kind of gave up on moving forward on the series because it's kind of a big gap to leave for live racers to just jump from D immediately to Hennessy. So 3 years later, we now have some decent cars, and we're going to go ahead and review them. Starting off with the Ferrari 296 GTS, the newest milestone car. This is probably the newest and also one of the best live racers we just got from the Ferrari brand. Partly because it's a gold star, it is accessible, and it is an achievable car for many people that recently got into a milestone crew, and it's not that difficult to build. However, like most Tier 5 cars, it is rather Stage 6 dependent for really good setups, but it's even good without Stage 6s. So if you guys are really looking for some kind of tune for this, I will probably put out a separate video for you. This video is just to review them in a live racing situation so you can see what they can do without really going into details on tunes and setups. Now, I'm going to do 2 to 3 races per car, and I'm going to give you my take on the car as we go. This milestone racer is a low performance point, high evo car like many of the ones that come recently. Shift pattern is important to get the best out of the car, and a 0 RPM drop launch is kind of helpful for this car as well to get the best runs out of it. Still a little finicky, but for a Ferrari, it is quite good. Now, is this the best Ferrari? Well, you know, we got 5 here we're going to go through, and I'll kind of give you my evaluation of them as we go along. Now, if we were to tier cars like they do for Heroes and other games, from say D tier all the way to S tier, that Ferrari that we just tested, the 296, would probably comes in as an A tier car. Is it really super awesome like a godly tier? No, but it is a solid, A tier vehicle because it can beat good 80 to 90% of the cars in your lobby with lower upgrades. As it gets into the higher upgrades, it's going to be a lot tougher. What would make a car S tier? Well, a S tier car, in my opinion, for something in this game would be a car that can, one, win all the way up to the 7-second lobbies before you get into Hypermax, where it's just a matter of who's faster. But with tuning capabilities up to like 7.7 lobbies, you want S tier cars to be able to perform well there, get lobby advantage, and possibly still beat Dyno. And there are very few cars that can do that at lower performance points than what is average up in that lobby, which is almost 700 plus performance points for most cars. In this case, these cars, these Ferraris, unfortunately, are mostly A to B rating as far as I'm concerned. For example, this SP3. Yes, it has good Evo. And yes, I just lost there, but that's because I slowed down a little too much. But this car here is what I would consider like a A- B+ car. Why? It's great on paper. It has good numbers, low performance point, high Evo, but it just does not get lobby advantage that well. And that's from get-go. Now, what is lobby advantage? I have a whole video on that. You might want to look that up if you really want to understand how it works. Basically, a summary of lobby advantage is just that whatever you dyno, the game recognizes your car being low performance point car with lower number of upgrades really shouldn't be that fast and put you in a slightly slower dyno lobby to start with. That's called lobby advantage. When you have that, it's very easy to win, right? Because most people in there have faster dyno than you, but that's what they run in the lobby. You have basically, I'm sorry, slower dyno, not faster dyno. I just got that mixed up. You have the faster dyno for the lobby, and you don't have to run your dyno to run the times in the lobby. And most people have slower dynos than that lobby. Now, that's a 9.686 dyno on that card. Why am I showing you that? because you just saw me run 9.8s and kind of barely win. But what I'm showing you is that I'm not really running this car all out and I'm winning. That is lobby advantage. This car unfortunately had about one lobby worth of advantage. And the same goes for some of the other Ferraris in here. The Enzo was probably in the last few years the first of the decent Ferrari live racers to come along. I was quite excited when that car finally came. In Tier 5, we had no other Ferrari other than some dyno busters that gets ruined pretty fast. No other Ferrari that can do a good live racing setup with low performance point, high Evo. The Enzo came along and it was decent. Is it still super good? No. I mean, this is again I would say, probably B tier car at this point. B plus, A minus, not quite able to beat more than 70-80% of the cars in the lobby. Is it bad? No, it's not a terrible car. It certainly can beat a lot of cars as well. It still gets lobby advantage, but it only gets about one lobby. And you have to still be careful with it, because if you drive it too fast, you can still easily bump it out of the lobby. Plus, it's not as low performance point high Evo, but another recent video about matchmaking change, I mentioned that low performance point, ultimate low performance point no longer matters as much, because the lobby now is more interested in knowing what you're running than what your performance point is. Not to say low performance point high Evo is now useless, it's still quite useful, but just having super low performance point and super high Evo does not give you huge advantage by itself anymore. You still need to have kind of the right dyno for the right level of upgrades in the right way of running it to get it into the right lobbies to win. That's a lot of getting stuff right, but that's where I guess you could say a little bit of knowledge and skill would come into play in live racing in this game, versus just slapping a car together and throwing it in live and keeping your fingers crossed. Okay, I'm racing a very good car right now, the LC500. This is what I would consider in Tier 4 at least a A-class, if not an S-class car. Now, Tier 4 is a tricky tier to really get the hang of, because a lot of those cars are really good, but you're running along with Tier 5 cars and other Tier 4 cars, so your tuning skills and knowledge of what needs to be done has to be greater. Now, 9.799 I had to run to beat that car. This is definitely at least a 9.8, 9.9 lobby. So I am running on the faster end of the lobby to win. Okay, but is that my dyno? No, I mean my dyno is a 9.664, which technically should put me in between cars that are 9.5 to 9.7 range dyno that's running against me, but it's not. It's putting me in 9.8, 9.9, which makes it viable. This FXX, unfortunately, cannot be upgraded too much, or it just loses its advantage. But in this lower level upgrade situation, in the 10 point somethings, it's pretty good. Beat my thing. Okay. Well, what if I do beat him? Does that mean I just kicked him in his? Anyway, you gotta watch what kind of names you use. Not because I don't find it funny. I actually do find these names quite funny. But, you know, we can also make fun of these names quite well if opportunities should arise. Because he just got kicked in his junk. Oh, anyway, but he's a new player. I understand. Let's move on. Let's focus on what we're here for. Showcasing that this FXX is a viable live racer. Rabbit run, tisk, tisk, tisk. Those are F1s. Those are good cars, and certainly difficult to beat in any lobbies like this. Yeah, he's a newer player, and he refused me. That's perfectly fine. Oh, here we go. Big Poppy J. Big Poppy here has a pretty good car. In fact, this is one of the better Tier 4 cars. Definitely A-class live racer in Tier 4. The BMW M4 CSL. Not a car to be taken lightly, and probably will push me all the way to the end of the track. It is a late bloomer, meaning that car starts to get faster and faster near the end of the track, not at the beginning. And if you're not careful, it's going to catch up to you and beat you. In this case, I was able to squeeze out a win, but look how fast I had to run. I was running 11s to win. I had to run a 10.7 to beat that car. That is literally how wide the range of these lobbies can be. Yes, it's a 10.9, 11 lobby, but you'll have cars running anywhere from 11.3 to 10.6s to 10.7s in there. Of course, the 10.7 cars will win most of it. So Big Papi J probably isn't that used to losing to other cars. All right, so that's that. Unless we get another challenger, I'm just going to go ahead and... oh, let me see if Plum Crazy won. Oh, here we go. Now, I hate to say this, but Plum Crazy is Plum Crazy for picking that car to live race. Why? It's a milestone car, sure. Is it a nice car? It's a Porsche. Of course it's nice. In real life, we would love owning that car. But in CSR2, that is unfortunately a bad live racer. Can you tune it to win in live? I'm sure you can tune it to beat Dino, put it in a lobby and win. But unfortunately, it's just, as a normal setup car, not that good. Okay? So, Plum Crazy was my last race with the FXX. Decent live racer, 10.688 dyno in the 10.8 to 11 second lobby. All right, moving on. So the FXX actually shines pretty well here, but part of the reason none of these are, quote, S-tier cars is because they're only good in slower lobbies. They're not good once you get into something like the 8-second lobby, the 9-second lobby. There are many cars that are good in 10s and slower. This is another thing to know as a new player. If you feel like you're getting trashed all the time in lobbies, focus on your GR Supra and get it into the 8s and 9s and maybe 7s even, and you'll lose a lot less often, and you have a lot more people to swap with. Because in faster lobbies, dyno advantage cars and dyno beating cars are far less in number, and therefore much easier for you to have success. Racer X is a newer player with a elite level car that's actually a 5-star Gold Star car. It's a nice car, but it's not a great live racer. Not to say that he didn't do well that round, but let me go ahead and not slow down too much like I did earlier, which was a mistake. And I should be able to take the win back pretty easily. So this SF90 is the prize car version. There's another Purple Star SF90. There's a Gold Star SF90. There's a Gold Star SF90 Spider. Out of all these, this is probably the best one. Unfortunately, even as the best one, it is still only probably a B-level live racer for me. Simply because it just doesn't lobby that well. It's not the easiest to drive either. It's okay. It's okay. But it's not better than the other Ferraris. Out of all the Ferraris we just saw, the 5 that I have in my live racing lobby, or garage, I should say, the 296 GTS is definitely by far my favorite. It's also, in my opinion, if tuned similarly, it's going to beat pretty much all the other 4 out of the 5 cars that I'm showcasing. So that's it. Those are your Ferraris. Didn't look like I made a move lobbies, or I didn't. I wasn't sure about that. But so that's the Ferraris, and we can now move on to the next brand, which is under the F brands, and that is the, let's see, the Fast and Furious. Okay, that's right. I almost forgot about this car. The flip car is a Fast and Furious prize car. Let me get some gas so we can keep this rolling. The flip car is a great car, okay, but not getting lobby advantage anymore. That's because Natural Motion realized how obnoxious it was in live racing years ago and nerfed it, or something else changed, I don't know. Is it still capable in live? Absolutely. This car can still beat dyno as much as you want it to by tuning. It is still high enough evo to be really good RP. It is still able to be driven very easily. So yes, it's actually quite good in live, but without lobby advantage, you would have to run faster than dyno to win almost every single time, including right here. He ran basically what my dyno is. And that Nissan's not a bad car. This is probably the 11.4 lobby. 11, which means 11.2 to 11.4 cars. Okay, I could run one of these bots to show you for sure. Let's run a bot, figure out what lobby we're in. But that's exactly the rub. If I'm in the lobby that my dyno is, and that's the normal setting, right? And you run faster than your dyno, the computer eventually figures it out and goes, oh, you can run a little faster than your dyno. Let's move you to the next lobby up, which is always at least a 2 to 3/10 jump in performance. Plus, you have opponents in there that could be 3/10 quicker than the lobby and still be in that lobby, and now you're screwed. You can't win. So 12.4 means an 11.4 lobby. So I was right. The lobby is about right for my dyno, but I have no real lobby advantage here. So the flip car, again, good car, but hard to win with. Oh, another CSL. This is going to be tough. These M4 CSLs will... Now I'm going to have to beat my dyno by a lot to win. Hopefully I don't have to. We'll see. All right, here we go. Oh, wait, he's not moving. Okay, so he disconnected. I've done that to people myself where I get into the race, I would line up, I hit the launch button and boom, I disconnect. So he obviously disconnected. No hard feelings. But we lost an opportunity here because I really would like to have seen what that M4 CSL would have ran in here. My gut feeling is if this is 11.4, that car would have ran probably 11 flat to 10.9. Okay, because it would have lobby advantage. All right, so all right, enough with the flip car. Most of you guys don't have it anyway. All right, the NASCAR Next Gen Mustang. It's in my lobby because my crewmates had pretty good experience with it. I would say this is a C live racer at best, in my opinion. It has some lobby advantage when you first get the car, but once you run it a bit, it's not so good. So here we're in the same lobby I was just in, which is the 11.3 to 11.4 lobby, around that range, which means I may have to run 11.1 to 11.4s to win, right? This next gen Mustang dyno is something like a 11.1 something, which means it is advantageous to a point, but it's not great. It's still within the lobby range, and wow, nobody wants a race. Jeez. So I'm gonna find somebody. I'm trying to get a veteran racer at least, not a brand. I guess I'll have to. All right, I guess I'll have to pick a newer racer. There's no way around it. He has a nice car though, the RS7 Sportback, tunes just like the RS6 Avant, both of which are A-tier live racers in Tier 4. Okay, all right. Bad launch. Oh man, I forgot how to drive this car. Well, let's just kind of hope that we get... Well, I'm still ahead. How about that? All right. Let's see what he ran. Because that didn't feel like I was really trying. Oh, still pretty fast, though. 11.3. I did 11.26. I'm running faster than the lobby time. So that's not a good sign. Because if I run enough 11.2s, I might get bumped. Oh, I think he got bumped. Did he just disappear? I think he just disappeared. Oh, no, he didn't. All right, never mind. Never mind. Someone else left. Okay. Tuna no crust. Yeah. I'm not going to get into that name. Let's go ahead and race. Now, that Porsche is the... I believe that's our Prestige Cup car this season. Hate to tell you, not that good a car. Doesn't do anything special. And in fourth gear, I am now edging past. It looks like he topped out. And look at that. Okay, 11.3, 11.4. So he's right on the lobby. So that's your standard car. Those are your basic. I set up my car for live racing based on my dyno and go. Here's another, I would say almost S tier, tier 4 car in this lobby. Okay. My chance of winning with this Ford against that Griffith is not very good. If anything, it's probably pretty bad. Let me see how it goes. Okay, if he knows how to shift it, and he does, he's gone. Look at that. Okay. And Yoda is playing with me. He's slowing down, slowing down, slowing down. So he could have easily ran 10.8 in that lobby with that car. And he did a 11.1, slowing down. So I suspect his dyno is probably closer to 11, and then he can easily do 10.8s because the Griffith is one of those cars that both can lobby well and beat dyno if you shift it right. So that is not a car that you normally would take lightly, especially in the slower lobbies. Okay, so anyway, the Ford is like a C tier car. It's viable. I don't even know why I ultimately put it in here. 11.16 dyno. But I guess I wanted a NASCAR that does well in live, and this is probably the closest you're going to get. Okay, so that's the Ford NASCAR. Viable, not great, but viable. Moving right along. All right, here we have the F-150 Huni truck. The Huni truck is a good Ford. Low performance one, high evo. But because, I don't know, for whatever reason, I didn't really run this truck much yet. I don't think it has much lobby advantage. It may have some. So we're going to have to be careful here not to run it too hard outright. And that's another thing. Anytime you get a new car together, if you want to have lobby advantage, you don't want to run your car right on dyno or faster the first few races. You want to run slow. Take a win or a loss, but run slow to kind of set the car into a slightly slower lobby. Okay. Oh, slow down a little too much and got killed. I do that a lot. It's okay. I mean, usually particularly when I'm kind of wary of running too fast, I sometimes misjudge how much to slow down by, and it can cost me a race, but that's okay. That's okay. We'll race him again. This truck is tuned pretty fast. I mean, I'm probably not remembering the shift pattern either. Part of the problem was running through 10, 11 cars in a row is by car number 5, you totally forgot how to shift the rest of them. Okay, so I'm just estimating what I think the shifts should be on a particular vehicle, so don't follow my shift patterns in these. What I'm counting on is my car is tuned and has enough advantage that it'll still perform very well in live. So 9.94 run against 10.0 against a fully elite LC 500. I'll take that as a pretty good win. Okay, anybody else we got here that can... Another LC, but that's a gold star. Jacob McVin is a bot. Maybe we'll race the bot. Let's see what lobby we're in. This could tell us just how much advantage we're running in here. All right, here we go. Okay. Now, against a bot, you really shouldn't have to try too hard. If I'm trying this hard against a bot, that's not a good sign. That means I'm not in a really advantageous lobby here. He should be running at least 11.8. Yeah, 11.8 is not a good sign. So that means this is easily a 10.8 lobby. Or I'm sorry, 9.8 lobby because we're running 10. So there will be a 9.8 lobby, which seems about right. We'll run somebody else. We'll run maybe one more person, see if, what a live opponent will run in here. Here's the Lancer Evolution. This thing, again, doesn't lobby especially well, but I think it does beat dyno pretty well. I haven't played with it too much, being a tier 4 and being a elite tuner card that I have put no elite levels on. But I recall it's decent. I mean, it's definitely not terrible. Whoops, slow down a little too much. Yeah, it's, see, 9.958 is pretty decent. Great? No, but decent. All right, so I'm not going to re-challenge. We need to move on to the next Ford. All right, so Huna truck, let's look at its dyno so you guys can know that I'm not losing because my truck can't run it. It can run, I just didn't run it. But it almost had no lobby advantage, or if it did, it was very little. That kind of disappointed me. I'm going to have to mess with this truck a little more. But I got it, and I barely used it. So this here, though, the Patriarch, is not on paper as strong as the Huna truck, but in practice, it does pretty well. Right? Is it like a super good car? without testing more, I can't tell you, but it seems good. My problem is I can't remember how to shift this either. I think this one you have to skip gears. I mean, I think. I mean, don't. Oh, that might not been the right move because that was kind of paused quite a bit. Can I? I mean, I can win this, but I'm gonna slow down. I just want to see what he runs, and so kind of know what lobby I'm in. All right, 11-0. There should be like a 11, maybe like a 11-2, 11-4 lobby then. I doubt this is the 11-0 lobby. These F1s almost always have lobby advantage. So let's see what happens here. But again, the Patriarch's good. It's a Ford that's actually decent. And again, you know, yes, Natural Motion added some more decent Ferraris and Fords, but no. Up to this point, other than that 296 GTS, none of these are really outstanding live racers. They're just decent. This one might qualify as a A-tier car if I play with it some more. But it's not as good as, say, the Chevys that we got from American Road Trip. Those Chevys are brutally good. I mean, they're just... Both the C2 Corvette and that Bel Air are both wonderful cars. I may have to do an update on the C brand cars at some point. Okay, let's see who else we can race in here. I like my meaty finger. I like that. I fat fingered a lot of things playing on the phone, so I totally understand having meaty fingers that touch the wrong things at the wrong time. Okay. And we can take that down some path for jokes that we just won't go there. Okay. Let's not talk about fingers touching stuff. Okay, let's go. Let's see if we can take down. That's the Cobra Jet. Pretty cool coloration, I think, with the Cobra Jet livery. But unfortunately, the Cobra Jet, if you're not tuned to beat Dyno, you're not going to beat the lobby. And you're not going to do that well. So if the Cobra Jet did 11-1 in here, this is probably the 11-1, 11-0 lobby. Okay. So 11-0 lobby, that means, tisk. Oh, perfect. I was thinking of running him. Now I can run him. He's probably gonna run all out to beat me. So this will give me a good gauge on what a decent car would run in this lobby, because the F1 is definitely a decent car. Okay. The F1's problem is, depending on how you have it tuned, it'll top out pretty fast. And then you're just relying on your jump to win. And his topped out, and I was able to pull past him on the later gears. But I was not able to slow down. And I had to run a 10.892 to beat his 10.961. So there's a good chance we're in the 11.2 lobby if a F1 running all out is running 10.9. 11.1, 11.2 makes sense for lobby times for this particular lobby. Okay. Again, I haven't really tested it too much. I'm just guesstimating here. There's no sure way to know what lobby you're in other than racing a bunch of people and averaging out what people are running with the understanding that certain cars will run faster than others. So I'm on a 10.77 dyno. I was in the 10.9, 10.8 or 11 second lobby, which means my car can most of the time, for the most part, win. This car can beat dyno if you shift it just right. Okay. All right. Moving right along. Now we're into cars I don't like. So the Mustang Mach-E 1400, by the numbers and on paper, should be a great, or maybe not great, but should definitely be a very decent live racer. My reality with it, in practice, I find it to be more like a B-level live racer, partly because, one, lobby advantage isn't that great, and two, it is really hard to drive. I could barely hit like 1 or 2 tenths slower than my dyno, much less beating it. Now, if you get everything just right, when the stars align and, you know, the solar eclipse and the lunar eclipse happen at the same time, which is... Anyway, that didn't make any sense. Point is, if everything was absolutely perfect, even with a perfect launch, and you shift everything just right, it should actually beat dyno by a little bit and actually would run great times. But even with a perfect launch, it's not really its best launch. I don't understand where its best launch is, and I can't run the time with it. It was moved into my live racing lobby because I tried really hard for a while to make it work, but it's honestly been collecting dust for quite a bit. That's the problem I have with all electric cars because of the sensitivity to launch, and being off by like 100 RPMs means you run 2-3 tenths slower. That takes all the fun out of it. Okay, a good live racer should be easy on the driver and easy to achieve your goals, and these electric cars are just not easy to drive. I mean, if anything, they're so difficult to drive they're annoying, which is why I don't love them. All right, I guess I'll try to squeeze in one more race with it. Hopefully somebody will accept. Can we accept? I guess not. All right. All right. No point to waste more time. I mean, this video is not getting any shorter, so let's move on to the next Ford electric car. Now, this guy, well. The Supervan 4, if you know how to drive it, is, in my opinion, S tier. Okay, this thing is really good. I mean, we're talking 8.7 dyno here, and on a perfect run, and I have to say those are rare, for me anyway. On a perfect launch, perfect run, everything being great, you can squeeze out like an 8.6 something runs, 8.69 I guess, out of that car, which in the lobby that I'm in, which incidentally should be 9.0 to 9.2 range, that is just crazy. Very few cars are going to run 8.7s even in that lobby, much less low 8.7s or even better 8.6s. It just doesn't happen for the most part, which means you have a car that's what's that term? Nay, unbeatable. Okay. Very good car. And it carries that same advantage and same ability in slower lobbies as well. It just gets a lot of increase in Evo, a lot of very low upgrades. Little stage 6 dependent like most of these really good cars, but the other piece is, even when I botched the launch like I just did there, it still runs well. I mean, yeah, it's slower, but it's not 4/10 slower like some of these electrics where you basically cannot win if you don't launch well. So, very good car. Probably the only one in here out of all the ones we've tested so far, I would say would qualify as S tier car. The only issue again is launch. I mean, I have in live racing this car, unless I practice a little bit and get into a row with it, jumping into lobby with it like this, it's really hard for me to time that launch. Well, I shouldn't have skipped a second. I think the best move is to let one run through and then nitrous second or something like that. Wow, that car's fast. I'm surprised. Let me see what he ran. 8.827. Oh man, same. Okay, but he beat me by either a few thousandths or a few tenths of a thousand, because the game actually tracks more digits than what's shown on there. Even though we have the same time, he was in fact just a hair faster. Okay, so I don't know if that's a dyno beating tune or not. I actually don't have that car, so that's probably a live racer I would add it to my list if I actually had the car, but I don't have it. Okay, C8R, one of my favorite Corvettes, looks great, runs great, but unfortunately under current matchmaking in this speed lobby, it's not that great. I mean, it's okay for swapping. He has swap symbols. It's okay for swapping, but it's just not that great a live racer in the faster lobbies. And it's okay in the lower lobbies. It's like a B-rated live racer if you know how to tune it. Not terrible, but not the greatest. Okay. Let's see where we can go from here. Anybody else? Do we have? Nah, let's go back. All right. So that was the Supervan. Supervan, again, if you know how to run it. In fact, let me try to run it on the dyno. I just want to see if I can show you guys how a good launch would look like. 8.75 dyno. Let me see. Okay, let me take that off. Hopefully I'll get a good launch. It really needs that 0 RPM drop to be decent. Oh, got it. Okay. Oh, I think I hit nitrous too early again. It's okay. This should still be a decent run though. Let's see what we got. 8.754. Not the greatest. I could definitely run with everything being perfectly done. 8.6 something. Okay. All right. So nonetheless, probably one of those cars that could qualify for S tier, but I would almost bump it down to A just for being hard to launch. But for electric cars, it's actually one of the easier electrics to launch. Okay. And rounding off the Fords, we have the 2016 GT LM. This is older car. Came out with a bunch of other race cars when I guess Natural Motion had the licensing for them. We have like a bunch of race car versions, GT3 cars, LM cars, but most of them are not any good. This one, fortunately, is decent. There's a McLaren one that's decent, and I think the Bentley GT3, which is one of the best live racers out there, lost a little bit of its edge recently due to other new cars, but still one of the best. Those are the GT3 and race cars that we got during that period when Natural Motion was on this bench of giving us stuff like this. All right, Randy King with his ABT RS6R. Decent live racer if he knows how to shift it and tune it. It's a dyno beating live racer, but if he doesn't have it tuned and doesn't shift instantly to a few gears off of first, it won't do that well. Let's see if it catches me. That's a late bloomer in the track too. It tends to pick up speed a lot near the end, but not on that run. What do we got? What do we got time wise? 10.4, 10.6. I'm pretty sure this Ford has a 10.2 something dyno, so 10.4 I'm running 2/10 slower than dyno and winning, and he actually ran 4/10 slower than my dyno altogether. So the GTLM is viable. Now, I bumped this car before. I had to bump it back before I started racing it in here, but nonetheless, for a Ford GT, it's not bad. Okay. So here we have a little more challenging race against the F1. Let's see how the F1 runs. Pretty good, taking off, but either I'm going to catch him or I'm not. Let's see if I can pull past him. Oh, pulling up on him. Pulling up. Yep. So the F1 again topped out and I was able to walk past it. 10.4, 10.5. So R6 ran 10.6. This one ran 10.5. This is probably 10.5 to 4 lobby where cars are running that time. So that's it. Okay, that is the Ferrari and Fords. I'm not heard about the GTLM. It's a good car, good looking Ford GT with all the livery. And next time, the next video, we'll do these cars. Koenigsegg K probably needs its own video. So that's it. That was the Ferrari or the F brand video from Ferrari to Ford, utilizing some of the decent live racers I found in those brands. There are other cars in the brand that might still be okay in live. I just don't use them and I haven't built them for my own personal live racing garages. But this 296 GTS I am quite happy with. Alright, so I hope you enjoyed the video. I know it's kind of long. If you watched it this long and this far, thank you. I appreciate the effort and the dedication and love for my channel to watch this whole video. If you like this video, leave a like. And if you like my channel and actually like watching this kind of videos and listening to me ramble, subscribe, hit the bell, and you get to hear a lot more of my ramblings in the days to come. And as always, thank you for watching my videos. I'll catch you next time.